Well, good morning. Morning in some cases. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Conversations with Dr. Els. I hope you are doing well. It's a beautiful day here in Barbados, and today is Tuesday, the last Tuesday of 20 of January. Is it? Yeah. Uh, so we want to welcome you to our program Conversations with Dr. Els, and I want to remind you that you can share this conversation. We are in having a great time so far in January. It's really been a beautiful time for Conversations with Dr. Els. God has been so good, and we want you to share the broadcast and let everyone know that Conversations with Dr. Els is on, and we are looking forward to have you sharing with us here on Conversations with Dr. Els. Well, a beautiful day to you. Good morning. Good day, Irene. Great having you locked on. So Trinidad is in the house. We have Barbara. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. It's been a while. Uh, Dominica is in the house. It's really great to have you guys here locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. It's a beautiful day, and we are going to have such a wonderful time. Good afternoon to you, Avanel. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. And remember, you can share this conversation. This is a conversation that we will have together, and so don't forget to share this conversation. Don't forget to WhatsApp your friends, your family. Don't forget to Facebook Messenger them. Don't forget to let them know Conversations with Dr. Els is on, and we are having a good time as we have been. And the last time we talked about, in our last three sessions or so, we talked about setting your goals and follow through. And I hope that this has been of help to many. And so we are excited about what we will continue to do. Remember, Conversations with Dr. Els is about dealing with social issues, emotional issues, especially relationship issues, and of course, from a biblical standpoint. So, let those of your friends who are in relationships, let those who are who are married, who are single, because we deal with relationship from all over, marriage, single, or whatever your relationship status is. We deal with relationship from that standpoint, and I want to encourage you to find your friends there, let them know Conversations with Dr. Els is on. We know that we are entering just now into the month of February, and we are going to talk a bit more about that. But just to remind you that Conversations with Dr. Els is now on Caribbean Gospel Jam, and you can check out Caribbean Gospel Jam. I want to shout out my brother, Pastor Tito Paul. Great having you on Conversations with Dr. Els. Great having you on Caribbean Gospel Jam. Great having you for thanks for the opportunity, all right, of just sharing. So guys, Conversations with Dr. Els is on Caribbean Gospel Jam, and Conversations with Dr. Els will soon be on Kingdom Lifestyle Network. Okay, So it's gonna be on Kingdom Lifestyle Network coming soon. So we want you to look out for these things. I want to remind you that we are going to have a seminar on Egypt and the biblical perspective on Egypt, which is going to be really an interesting seminar. We are going to have a biblical Egyptologist who is going to share with us, and we look forward for many of you being a part of this seminar just for a minimal contribution. Okay, and we will let you know when that is coming up. It's coming up soon. So we look forward for that. In conversations with Dr. Els today, we're going to continue on a series in relationship. So, okay, we're going to continue in a series on relationships, and today we want to talk about some of the things that are out of bounds in marriage. Okay, some of the things that are out of bounds in relationship. But as usual, we have my brother from another mother, my brother out there in New Jersey. Great morning to you. It's morning still in New Jersey, so um, great having you locked on. And wherever you are viewing this conversation from, and whenever you are viewing this conversation, we want to say to you, welcome to Conversations with Dr. Els, and it is great having you. So, yes, we want to talk about some of the things that are out of bounds in your relationship. And of course, we can talk about a lot of things. And I know, as usual, you have some ideas, you have some wisdom. We are in a conversation, and so we share with each other. So let those persons in relationship, let them know, and that we're going to be talking about some out of bounds in relationship, and for even for those who are not married and looking to be married, getting into relationship, they need to hear this also. So just shout out somebody and say, hey, you need to join Conversations with Dr. Els, or just remember that to share this conversation with your friends and those around. Okay, and so when we get into relationship, there are certain things that we need to expect. Remember, as I usually say, when two lives collide together, there are many things that happen. As long as you are in a relationship, whether it is a friendship, whether it is family relationship in terms of siblings, or whatever relationships you are in, you will have some challenges. All right, you will come across some situations that you need to deal with. Okay, and as long as you're in those relationships, you got to continue to walk through those situations. I want to remind us that relationship, and especially marriage is hard work. Okay, marriage is hard work, and we have to remember that we need to be prepared to walk at our marriage or walk at our relationships. Okay, and so we want you to remember that you need to work at your relationship. Okay, I just want to pause. I want to say hi to Jana. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Mr. Paul Harper, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. It's really great having you guys locked on. So we are talking about the out of bounds in relationship, and we have some time where we can discuss. We have some time where we can share with each other. So, guys, remember that we are here and we can share with each other. So, great having you guys locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. All right. So here, let's talk. One of the things that we need to recognize, one of the things that we need to recognize, that is out of bound in relationship, is physically hurting your partner. Okay, physically hurting your partner, physically hurting your spouse, your partner. So even if you are not married, we're talking about that, because remember, conversations with Dr. Els is not just for married person, it's about relationship. And so physically hurting your partner is a no in relationship. It is not right, it is not right for you to hurt your partner. All right. Let me just pause also to say hi to Trevor. Great having you locked on to conversations with Dr. Els. Okay. And so we have, when we have abuse in relationship, it is really a sad thing. Okay, when we have abuse in relationship, it is really a sad thing. And we need to understand that it is not cool, it is not right, for you to be in an abusive relationship. There are some people who have been in abusive relationship and stuck there because they grew up, their parents have been in an abusive relationship, and so they stuck in that abusive relationship and they think that it is right. But hear me, men, it is not right for you to physically abuse your spouse. Woman, it is not right for you to physically abuse your spouse. I mean, oftentimes we talk about domestic violence and abuse, and it is often seen as the man abusing the woman. But we have in many relationships where the woman abuses the man and the man is afraid to talk about it because it looks as if that man is weak, or that person is weak. But let me say and let me remind you that it is not cool. So that is out of bounds in relationship. You should never physically abuse your spouse or your partner. But you might say, well, Dr. Els, what about if I'm angry? What about if my spouse or my partner provoke me to do to hit, or to abuse? How do I deal with provocation? How do I deal with provocation? Well, there are several ways that you can deal with that. And my friends, my family, in this conversation, I want you to throw out comments. What are some of the things that you think should be done in order to not abuse your partner in a relationship? Because you understand, sometimes it is the first time, and you put up with it, as you might say, and then it can happen and happen again. And my question would be, how much leeway should you give in an abusive relationship? How when is enough in an abusive relationship? And so, come on, talk to me. How much is enough in an abusive relationship? Should I forgive him or her at the first time, or should I call it quit the first time? What is the mental state? But we got to understand that it is not something that should be done. Okay, it is out of bounds in a marriage, it is out of bounds in a relationship, and therefore we should not have that happening in relationship. Okay, so I want you to talk to me as you come on. We're saying that there are several things that are out of bound in relationship. One is physically hurting your spouse or hurting your partner. Okay, and we're saying that they should never be in a relationship. And at what point in the relationship should you really give up? on a spouse abusing, or give up on someone being abusive in the relationship. I just want to pause here and say hi to Ingrid. Great having you locked on to conversations with Dr. Els. Um, it's really great having you guys family locked on. Okay, so we're gonna move on, and we're still looking forward for you guys to share, some of what can be done in an abusive relationship, or what can be done in avoiding that, or how when is enough in an abusive relationship. But the second thing that I want to say that is out of bound in a relationship is withholding sex. Okay, withholding sex from your spouse as a punishment. Right. Again, we agree that there are many even Christian couples who withhold sex from their partner, and it goes both male and female, who withhold as a punishment. So you are angry, you are vexed, your partner did not do something that you think that they needed to do, and so you withhold sex. Now, that is something that has been happening for years, and some great Christian women, especially, would tell you that they have done that. Okay, they will tell you yes. They will tell you yes, I have done that, and some might be even proud of that. But let's hear what you have to say. One comment: you should walk away from abusive relationship once it's occurred. It will occur again and again. And so you are saying that from the first time that it happened, you should walk away. Is that what you're saying? Because if you don't walk away, then it's going to happen. Because once it happened, it's going to happen over and over again. So let's hear your thoughts on this, in terms of, should it be one time, or should you forgive? We talk about what Peter said to Jesus. How often should I forgive my brother? Should it be 7 times? And we often say, Jesus said, no, I say not just seven, but 70 times seven. The thing is, it is always easy for us to quote those scriptures and to talk about it when it doesn't involve us, and when it is not as close as an intimate relationship. Okay, so how do we deal with that? Because we're not talking about a friend, we're not talking about somebody out there, we are talking about a relationship that is very close, that is intimate, whether it's marriage and such like that. So how do we deal with that? Okay, and so the second point that we've made is that withholding sex as a punishment, it must be a no-no in marriage. It must not be something that should be in your relationship. And now, how do we deal with that? Because somebody's angry, or if we go back to the first habit that I'm talking about, that is out of bound. Somebody has physically hurt you. Should you still give in to sexual intercourse with your partner? How do we deal with this from the standpoint of having a standpoint of the Bible saying your body is not your own, and all of that? How do we deal with that from this standpoint? But when it becomes a habit for many persons, many Christian persons, to withhold sex from their partner as a punishment, and we're saying that it should not be a hallmark of your marriage. So every time you're vexed, you withhold. Let me just pause and say hi, Vivian. Great having you locked on to conversations with Dr. Els. All right. How do we do that? How do we deal with the whole aspect of withholding sex from your partner, okay, as a punishment. Should that be done or not? Again, the Bible says that you must love your husband or your wife, love as Christ loved the church. Well, let me be correct here. Husband, love your wife as Christ loved the church and give himself for it. And wives, submit to your husband. And so there's a whole mutual aspect of love and submission that is talked about from scripture. Okay, and so how do we deal with that? I want to move on to a third factor. And remember, these things, even if we move on to a third issue or the next issue, does not mean that you cannot comment on what has gone before, because we have a lot of out of bounds situation, a lot of things that should be out of bound in a relationship. Okay, and we're just going to deal with some here. It's not going to be an exhaustive list, but it is something that can help you, that you can walk on. Okay, so someone is saying that, holding sex back for your partner can cause more problems in your marital relationship. I want to pause here and welcome my brother Darren. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. It's really great seeing you, and I hope this will not be the last, but it will be, many more times as we engage in this conversation as a married person. Great having you locked on. So here it is said that if you withhold sex from your partner as a punishment, it's going to cause more problems in your marriage. What I would like for you to suggest, what I would ask, what are some of the ways, or what are some of the problems that you think will occur in marriage if you withhold, or in your relationship if you withhold sex from your partner as a punishment? What are some of the greater issues that you think may happen? So we are saying that there are several things that are out of bounds in a relationship, and especially in a marriage. One, physically hurting your spouse or your partner. Two, withholding sex from your spouse as a punishment, because you're angry because they didn't do something that you thought they should have done, because they have not lived up to the standard that you wanted them to live up to. We should not withhold. But again, some people would say, but what about if they've gone out or they've cheated? What about this stuff? How do we deal with that? All right. And we're hearing that if you withhold from your partner, it can cause more problems in the marriage relationship. What are some of the problems that you think it will cause? But the third thing is talking badly about your spouse to other people. And believe it or not, there are some people who enjoy, or some people who, for some reason, maybe because they have an interest in somebody else, or because they just want to talk. So there are persons who will talk bad about their partner. There are persons who will tell you, oh well, my wife, she's not good for anything, or she can't cook, and she can't this, and she can't that. And you talk badly about your spouse or your husband. Sometimes the ladies get together and they talk, how the husband can perform in bed, and how he tries to do this, and we have this problem and this issue. My question is, how far can you go in talking about your partner, and is it right for you to do that? Now, I am saying that it's a no. It should be out of bounds for a person to talk bad about their spouse, about their partner, to other people, because oftentimes you do that and those persons even hold it against you. I believe that if you have to talk about your partner, if you have to talk about your spouse, you should talk about the good things, okay? Even if you're having challenges in your marriage. There are some people who say, I don't want to be hypocritical, or I don't want to be a hypocrite by showing a good face out there. And social media has caused a lot of persons to show great and nice things, because oftentimes it's like a competition. And so some people saying, I don't want to be hypocritical. You see me? I can't be a hypocrite. So if we are vexed at home and we are going out, you're going to see it on my face. And this comes off of the whole fact of talking bad about your partner. And so should we do that? I'm saying that there should be a no in any marriage relationship. But how do we balance even the aspect of not showing that something is wrong in your marriage on the outside? We have a friend, a wonderful friend who's just joined us. Hi, Karen. Great having you locked on, or I should say, Reverend Karen. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. I hope this will not be the last, but we will see more of you. This is a woman of wisdom. So great having you locked on. And we are talking about some things that are out of bound in a relationship, and especially in a marriage. And we said that physically hurting your spouse, we said withholding sex from your spouse as a punishment should be a no in marriage. And thirdly, talking badly about your spouse to other people. Now, you may say, but what if I need somebody's help? What if I need counseling? What if I need some advice? Now, there's a difference in having someone that you can confide in, and share your issues, share your heartbreak, share your situation. That is different than going out there, you in a crowd, or you're talking to somebody, and all you can do is talk about the negative things, talk about bad things about your partner. Okay, that should be a no. As a matter of fact, what you need to do is to lift up your partner. What you need to do is talk positive things about your partner. Talk positive things about your spouse. The Bible talks about, words have power, right? The power of life and death is in is in the power of the tongue. And so you can speak positive things into being. All right, you can speak positive things into being. So it's a no of talking negatively and badly about your spouse to other people. On the other hand, also, it should be out of bounds of allowing other people to talk badly about your spouse. So some people will say, well, I don't talk badly about my spouse, but they allow other people to talk badly about their spouse. This man that you married to is no good, or this woman that you married to, she's no good. And we sit back and we listen to them, and we don't correct. We don't say, hey, that's my spouse you're talking about there. Or hey, no, you can't do that. That should be out of bounds. You should not allow that to happen in your marriage. You should not allow that to happen. You should not allow anyone to talk badly about your partner, to talk badly about your spouse. This is very important for enhanced relationship. This is very important for you to be able to build your relationship. And even as you go forward in 2022 and beyond, if you have been doing these things, I encourage you to make a 180-degree turn and speak positively about your spouse. Speak positively. Yes, we understand that everyone is not perfect, and when we join together, like I usually say, two imperfect being collide, and there are going to be issues. That's why we understand that relationship must be a serious thing. Relationship is hard work. Marriage is hard work, and therefore you have to remember that you can talk positively about your spouse. So some people, they don't talk badly about their spouse, but they allow other persons to talk badly about their spouse. This should be a no-no in your relationship. This should be a no-no in any relationship, especially in your marriage. Hey, you need to defend your partner. Your spouse is your partner. You're in a relationship. That's your partner. That's the person you sleep with. That's the person that may maybe carried your children. That's the person who's there with you. And so you must remember that that's the person you need to stand up with. That's the person that you need to defend. All right. And so we encourage you, do not allow persons to talk badly about your spouse. And you know what? You might be saying in your mind, but it is really true. You know that it is true. You know that your person, that your partner has failed in this area or is struggling with that area. But instead of talking badly, or instead of allowing persons to talk badly about your partner, you need to defend your partner, and you need to be able to work with that partner now to develop that relationship and develop the strengths that your partner has. Okay, number 5, right? So we talked about 4 things thus far. The 5th thing that I want to bring to your attention is you don't ignore your partner. You don't ignore your partner. And when we talk about ignoring your partner, we're talking about in every aspect. There are some people who are good at ignoring others. Okay, so your partner is talking to you and you tune out. You ignore them. Okay. You probably think they think you're hearing, but you're ignoring them, and you don't answer or such, right? It is not a wise thing. It is not a good thing. Or you ignore your partner's needs. Your partner have a need that you can fulfill, whether it is an emotional need, whether it is sexually, whether it is a physical need, whether it's financially, or whatever the need is that your partner have. You must not ignore your spouse. You must not ignore your partner. And you've got to remember that, because especially if you're married, then this is the man, this is the woman that you said until death do us part. This is the person that you plan to live with, okay? And therefore, it's important that you are able to join with your partner and meet those needs. Ignoring your partner is not good at all. Not good to ignore. It's a great turn off. And any one of us, if we are talking to persons, if we have friends, and we're talking to them and they're ignoring us, we're gonna feel upset. We're not going to like that. And therefore, it is the same if we're ignoring our partner, whether it's in a conversation, whether or it's in a situation where needs need to be met, and you can, okay, meet those needs. Don't allow your partner to suffer. All right. So ignoring your partner, and I'm just kind of running through some of the things. And like I said, I know you have wisdom. You can comment what are some of the things that must be a no-no, or should be out of bounds in marriage. You can post those comments there as we have this conversation. All right. So the next thing that I want to share is keeping secrets from your partner, keeping secret from your spouse. You know, how do we deal with that? And as I thought of this earlier before I came to share this on the program, I thought of so many ways that people keep secret, and sometimes with good intention, okay, but it can turn out bad. Even if you have good intention, it can turn out bad. For example, let's talk about good intention. Should we keep a secret from our partner, from our spouse, if we are planning to surprise them? What if we want to surprise them? How do we deal with that? I've seen surprise really gone bad. The intent was good, but the surprise went bad because, of course, it was a secret. And while that might be a bit trivial, while you can come away from that, while you can walk out of that, there's also the issue of keeping important information from your partner. Okay, again, if you are partners together, we should be able to share. But the question often come up: how much information should I share? Or should I share the gory details even of our past, right? Should I keep the gory details of my past a secret, or should I let my partner know? Now understand this. If it is going to affect the relationship in the present or in the future, I believe it's something that needs to talk about. Okay? If it's going to affect the relationship, it is something that we should talk about. But sometimes we have to have the wisdom of knowing what is past. Okay, now, for example, does your partner need to know? Does your partner need to know if you've had an abortion or something in the past? If it's not affecting or will not affect your relationship in the future? These are some of the things that we need to be able to talk about. We need to be able to deal with. How much of a details that you need to share with your partner? Okay, but even in your relationship, you have to understand that there are certain things that you don't keep from your partner, and very important here, know your partner, because I don't like surprises. Okay, and here, this is one and very good example. You have to know your partner, as is said here. There's persons who don't like surprises, and that's why I was saying I've seen a couple surprises gone bad because the other person had good intention. Okay, it was all about the good for the partner, but because the partner don't like surprises, it went bad. Okay, and so you must know your partner. You must know that. Again, as the comments come in, I think one should be honest and transparent. And so the question often asked is, how honest and how transparent? And again, is it everything that we need to say? And I'm looking at even from the past right up to the present and the future. If it does not affect the relationship, is it important for you to share? Is it important for you to share this? Okay, we're talking about things that are out of bounds in relationship or in marriage. I just want to welcome, let's see, GPXM. All right, great having you. Locked on to conversations with Dr. Els via our YouTube channel. Okay, great having you locked on. But we're talking about these things. They're out of bounds. Sometimes, just in the comments, sometimes when you tell your partner your secret, then the partner become angry with you. Okay, sometimes you tell your partner, and this example, you tell your partner of the relationships that you had before, and the person became angry with you. They see the person, and they're vexed because of that. And so you have to know your partner. It's very important that you know your partner. And important things, very, very, very much we must know that important things that will affect the marriage, important things need to be said. You have partners that tell each other everything, however small it is. They tell each other everything. But let me say this does not come easy or one time. It's something that you develop over a time. Okay. um Everything, they tell you everything, and this develop over time, because what happened is, in a relationship, trust needs to develop. Okay. And let's see here. One person is saying, on everything, you just never know when the past will visit you. Okay. And the thing is, you're saying that if the past is something that is detrimental to your future or detrimental to the relationship, I believe that it should be said. Trivial things. Okay, in the past I hurt my foot, or I had a broken ankle, but my ankle is good. It has not affect me. It healed well and such. That really does not affect my relationship going forward. Is it that I need to say it? I'm not saying that you can't say it for information, but does that affect your marriage or your relationship? Okay. And we're not talking about these trivial things. I believe that once the things are important, okay, that it needs to be said. All right. Because you do not want it affecting your relationship, right? So we're talking about keeping secret from your spouse should really be a no-no. Trust need to develop, and as you grow in your relationship, it should become easier for you to share with your partner, because you become comfortable with your partner. And also, um, I want to say, in terms of shouting or swearing or screaming at your spouse, really should not practice that in a relationship. All right. You really should not practice, screaming at and shouting at and such like that, and raising your voice to that extent that your partner becomes angry or intimidated and such like that. So you have to develop some boundaries. You have to develop some things in your relationship, and certain things should be out of bounds. All right. And so we want to share with you, these points, and I want to just quickly go over them. Physically hurting your spouse, withholding sex from your spouse as a punishment, talking badly about your spouse, or allowing others to talk badly about your spouse, ignoring the needs of your spouse, ignoring your spouse, keeping secret from your spouse, and screaming or swearing at your partner. These things should be no in your relationship. They should be out of bound, because remember, you are developing a bond, and maybe you are together for a year or 2 years or 5 years. The longer you spend together, the more you practice thing in developing that bond in your relationship, the easier it is to keep these things away from your relationship. All right. So I want to remind you of that as I wrap up conversations today. I want to remind you that here are some things that you need to keep out of your relationship. Your relationship, remember, I always say your relationship is unique. Your marriage is unique. No two marriages are alike. Okay, no two relationships are alike. And so you have to understand that's why it is work, because sometimes we look at other people's relationships, and we become jealous of that relationship. But remember, if you are in a relationship, you work with your partners. You know your partner's strengths, their weaknesses. You know your strengths, your weaknesses, and you work through that. It's not going to be easy, but as you work through it, God is going to help you to build that bond that no force can stand against in your relationship. So, guys, these are some pointers that I want to share with you today in our conversation. And remember, you can still share on your thoughts on what we do in terms of what we share. You can go into conversations with Dr. L's group, and you can share there. You can share this conversation for those who are not able to be on at this moment. I just want to see one of my other friends on Mantha. Great having you locked on to conversations with Dr. Els. So Canada is in the house, or England is in the house, New Jersey, and all of you, South Africa, from wherever you are watching this conversation from, or from wherever you will watch this conversation from. We're glad that you are joining us with conversations with Dr. Els. I cannot leave without recognizing one of who I consider one of the greats in life, and that is my professor. You will always be my professor, Dr. Larry Standridge. Great having you, Dr. Standridge, on Conversations with Dr. Els. It's really glad to see. It's really a joy, a pleasure to see you locked on, and I hope that I can see you some more. I hope we can hook up some more and share together the good things that you're doing. This is one of my loved professor in my both my master's and doctoral program, and a man who I respect very highly. So great having you locked on, Dr. Stanridge. And remember, keep these pointers in your relationship. Keep these out of bound pointers, so that the more you are able to keep these things out of your relationship, the happier and the better you will be in your relationship, and you will be able to help others. But until next week, Tuesday, God's willing, at 12 Atlantic Standard Time, which will be 11 Eastern Standard Time, and all the different times. This has been Conversations with Dr. Els. I just say hi to my blood sister, Kenta. Great having you locked on. We are at 12 Atlantic Standard Time, and I hope that you can join me next time around that time. I know guys are busy, but it's great having you guys locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. And until next week, this has been Conversations with Dr. Els. Let me just remind you that coming up soon, we are going to have a seminar on with a biblical Egyptologist from Egypt, and we're going to debunk some myths about Egypt. We are going to talk about Egypt place in the Bible, and how important Egypt was, and even now is at this point, to all Christianity. So we are going to be decoding biblical Egypt, and I tell you, I am excited about this, and I'm saying to you, get excited. Very soon I'm going to share with you more details in terms of when we would have it, what your contribution will be. Okay, but I am excited about this. Some great information, because you know what? Let me just say this before I close. Many times, persons look at Egypt, and they only look at Egypt as Egypt being the type of the world and the negative aspect of Egypt. But remember, the nation of Israel had some, yes, they had challenges in Egypt, but God used Egypt as a place to develop the nation of Israel. And biblical Christianity, really the Christianity that we talk about, that comes from the European Christianity. Europe has done some disservice to Christianity. And so we have persons who constantly say, that Christianity is a white man's religion and it was brought out of slavery and such like that, because they do not really understand the true roots of Christianity. Let me just pause. I want to say hi to Gordon. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. L. We want to decode some great information on biblical Egypt and Egypt role in Christianity. And I tell you, I look forward for that. I look forward for you having me. I want to have at least 100 persons on this seminar. And I'm going to give some incentives, okay? So you look out for this seminar on biblical Egypt, and let's debunk some of the myths about Egypt. Okay, we are going to have, as I said earlier, we are going to have a biblical Egyptologist who would share in this seminar and would bring out some really great information that we need as Christians. So until next week at 12 Atlantic Standard Time, God bless you. This has been Conversations with Dr. Els, and I'm looking forward. And remember, you can still share this conversation. There are many people who need this information and need help. Relationship is at the forefront of Conversations with Dr. Els because many people are having lots of challenges in relationship. But we want to share some insights. We want to be able to help those who need help in Conversations with Dr. L. So God bless you and have a wonderful rest of the day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And God bless you. So take care.